Welcome to this video. In this video, we'll be learning how to solve linear inequalities and how to represent our answer using set notation. Right, so what you see here is some preliminary knowledge. Uh, I have 4 being less than 8. It's just really preliminary stuff, but it's good to understand what's going on. So when I add 3 to both sides, the inequality is still true. If I subtract 1 from both sides, the inequality is still true. 3 is less than 7. When I times by 2, the inequality remains true. When I divide by 4, the inequality still remains true. 1 is less than 2. But what if I multiply by a negative number? Alright, let's say I have minus 4 on the left and minus 8 on the right. Can I say minus 4 is less than minus 8? Think about the number line. Minus 4 is bigger than minus 8. So that's why I put the question mark there. That inequality sign needs to be flipped. Alright? So we are taking that and we flipping it when we divide or multiply by a negative number. Let's divide by a negative number. This inequality will give us will get the numbers 1, minus 1 and minus 2. Can we say minus 1 is less than minus 2? Check. Minus 1 is actually bigger than minus 2. So this inequality sign is going to have to be flipped. Okay, so just remember that. Multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you need to flip the inequality. Alright, I hope you remember that. Let's Alright, in this another we've got linear inequality here. When we have to solve it, let's say we took away 8 from both sides. We remain with minus 2x. It was 24 minus 8, 16. When we divide by minus 2, we are going to flip the inequality. So I'm going to write 16 over minus 2 like so. So actually the answer is x is bigger than minus 8, not less than minus 8. Alright, so I flip the inequality here because I divided by a minus 2. Alright, so I hope you remember that rule. Let's look at some examples here. Here we could subtract 12 and then we need to divide by negative 3, so that's why we flip the inequality. In the end, you have to flip the inequality. Alright, I would have just went from this step to this step, doesn't matter. Using set notation, because the question asked us to show the set of values. Okay, pay attention to the question. Set means that use set notation. Set notation is x dot dot means such that. Alright, you don't have to write these words. The dot dot or colon means that x is bigger than minus 5. You just need to rewrite your answer with curly brackets here. This means set notation. So, next question. We need to multiply the bracket first and then bring x's on one side and numbers on the other side and so on. Alright, multiplying out the bracket, we get 0. And then we're going to add the 2x to both sides and add 15 to the right. We end up with 36. So 36 divided by 5, you don't need to change the inequality sign because they're both positive. So set notation means that you're going to just write your answer with x dot dot at the front and use curly notation. You don't need to write set notation, you just need to write this section here. Alright, so let's look at the next example. One more time. This inequality, I identify this to be have a lower value of x, so I subtract 1x from both sides and add 5. And actually, there is 2 inequalities here. Alright, so our set notation, I'll show you at the end, needs to satisfy both of these inequalities. So this question is more complicated because this gives us one answer: x is less than 13 over 2, or x is less than 6.5. The other inequality, draw a vertical line and solve that, subtracting x from both sides and dividing by 4. Now, what's the values of x that are both satisfying both the left inequality and the right inequality? X is less than 6.5 are all of these values. Why is there an open circle here and not a closed circle? Why did they leave like a gap in the middle of the circles? Because there is not any equality sign here. If this was equality, you would put a filled circle here or closed circle. Alright, so let's plot the other one. X is bigger than minus 2. All these values, alright, minus 2 is here and bigger than is on the right. So the set of values that will satisfy both goes from minus 2 to 6.5 only. So you write your answer like so, because that's the overlap between these two, intersection of these two inequalities, right? We're looking for this, and the word and is important in this question. If we said or, we would have considered some other values, but and means that it has to satisfy both of them. So we're taking the intersection of the inequalities. Then in the next question, again, with most questions, you get the and between two inequalities. So you solve them as you would normally. I'm not gonna talk about this. This is just year 10, year 9 work. Then you solve the other inequality. You get x is less than 2 and x is bigger than 3. So the left inequality is saying, go find number 3 here and point to the right because these are x values are bigger than 3. This inequality is saying find number 2 here and x is less than 2. Is there an intersection point? No, these two lines, these two inequalities don't intersect. There is no answer. Alright? So it's a trick question. Don't think that, oh, you have to give an answer because there is no answer for this one. Alright? So if they say or, okay, now they could have said instead of the and, if they used or, we would have given this answer here. Alright? If they said, if they used, if this was not an or, then the solution would have been what we found here. We would just said either go to the left of 2 or go to the right of 3. Alright? And this is how you would write it. Alright? That's if the question was different, but the final answer is actually there is no answer. Alright, so in this question we've been told another two inequalities, both linear, so you solve them like you would solve an equation, linear equation. Then finally you would look at the number line. You say x is bigger than minus 1 to the right. The arrow needs to point to the right. Now doesn't have to be long arrow. And the x here has to be bigger than 3. So 3 is somewhere here, and this is pointing to the right. Where do they intersect? For any value that's bigger than 3, they both intersect. So this means that the final answer is actually just x bigger than minus 3. You use set notation and you write it like so. Okay? Alright, so here are some questions from your book. Good luck practicing. I'll see you in the next video.